Jennifer Watson on shifting states, high performance, and soul aligned living. Ready to alchemize emotions and align with your soul's purpose? Join us as we welcome Jennifer Watson, who empowers others to achieve sustainable, high performance, and soul aligned living through the powerful practice of shifting states. Discover how to master your emotional landscape, tap into your flow state, and break free from chaos to create your epic legacy. Lean into practical tools for emotional alchemy, resilience, influential communication, and overall well being. Welcome to the Wellness Driven Life Show, where you're about to go on a wellness driven ride. Welcome to today's show. I am so excited to share a little bit more about the guests that we have with us. Jennifer Watson is a two-time All-American athlete turned transformational coach and speaker with over 25 years of experience. She empowers leaders to achieve high performance and soul-aligned living through mental emotional state shifts and optimize leadership strategies. As CEO of Watson Worldwide and founder of Run Your Race Global, she accelerates positive impact globally. Featured on TEDx and major media outlets, Jennifer guides individuals to create their epic legacies. I am so pleased to help welcome to our stage today, Miss Jennifer Watson. Welcome.
April, I'm so excited to be here. And I know I'm doing what I should be doing in life when you talk about emotional mental shifting, because I do believe it really gets people into more powerful spaces that we need each other to be. So I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I love teaching and gifting people with the wonderful tools and techniques they can utilize in a moment's notice when we go through times that we really need a shift, right? And that could be quite frequently as we live in such a time that anxiety is really a common theme in the everyday life. Let's get started by sharing a little bit more about yourself, though, so our audience can get to know you better.
Absolutely. Man alive, when you've lived long enough, you have so many stories. But you know what? The truth is, I've always been, April, a high performer. I've always wanted to live in my highest potential. And what I noticed as I navigated that through all these different journeys in my life, that on the flip side of that, I wanted to just come home. I just wanted to come home. And what that means is I wanted to be able to be my fullest potential in whatever I was doing. I was a high level athlete. I've been a business owner, now a coach, consultant, and speaker. But I also really craved that I could just be myself, that I could actually navigate this life where more and more, like you said, April, is coming toward us in knowing how to just be who I really am. Because at the end of the day, the way I coach, the way I speak, when we can actually live more of who we really are, come back home is kind of my phrase, and learn how to tap into this mind and body that's yours quickly and effectively, especially during hard times that trigger so much mentally and emotionally in us. I believe you win this game called life. So I've really come full circle in my journey of looking at high performance in a different way, looking at wellness in a different way, looking at how powerful I am, April, when I'm truly in my home, in my state, not yours, not someone else's, but mine. And that allows me to, yes, shift a lot of things very quickly in my day to actually work for me and not against me. And it's something I teach all the time. And I'm really excited to be here to share some of that.
Jennifer, I think that when we figure that out, that there's so much more, or that there is a state we can go into that brings us closer to home or self or the whole self, right? we do want to shout it out from the rooftops. And so I get excited also when I have guests on the show that really have that understanding and they're best able to explain it because they talk about it all the time. And so when you talk about high performance, there's many, many people that are drawn to that. They want to do their best. They're like continuously striving to outperform and do and go, go, go. And there's a couple of different ways that looks, whether it's sports, whether it's in the office, whether it's school, whether it's quite literally with yourself, right? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can show up in the world where you're wanting to be this greatest self. And sometimes along the way, if we don't have that better understanding of being able to go within, being able to quiet the mind and go back into that creative state, eventually it can tend to put us off balance a little bit. So share with us a little bit of what was it like for you when you first started noticing this and acknowledging it?
Yeah. So, everyone out there that's a high performers, I hope this really lands with you and it challenges you or invites you into looking at high performance differently, because most of you that probably follow her and follow April are probably high performers, have been moderately, if not significantly successful in your life. And here's the deal. I was too before I got how to even go higher level in my peak performance in a space that was that was good, that could accelerate even more powerfully without feeling bad behind the scenes. A lot of us high performers think that it's all about push, push, push with our strategy, with our to-do list, like you said, April, whether it be the workouts you have to do as an athlete or the to-do list for your business or whatever it is. And we always lead with what we think we need to do. And we lose sight of who we really are that helps us actually do some of that stuff. And actually, even deeper yet, does some of that stuff not need to be done? And the things that do need to be done, can we do it at a higher level? So first and foremost, I'm going to invite you all in as we go through this show is to look at high performance differently. Even if you've been successful and you've done, and there are, you guys, I teach a lot on neuroscience. I teach a lot on block scheduling. I teach a lot on flow state. But what I'm going to encourage you to do first is to be willing to look at accessing your highest self, your highest potential self in a very different way. That's not pushing, that's not drilling yourself into the ground, that's not doing 20 things a day. I believe, and also research backs this, when we actually shift out of some of these things that are massively push to do and move into things that access our flow state powerfully, which we're going to go through today, that is unique to you. You don't have to do a lot. You actually feel really vital, very healthy doing it. And you actually accelerate your success. So for any of you that have been successful, you actually get to accelerate even more into what you really desire and feel good doing it.
Oh, something I really appreciate about you, Jennifer, is you come from so many different backgrounds where you really have a great understanding of so many of those dimensions. With Driven Living, we use the spiritual, intellectual, physical aspects of ourselves, mind, body, soul, spirit, or what have you. So encompassing all of those things to really, truly heighten that high performance state and maintain it. And I think that that's kind of the trick that we all want to get to, is being able to maintain that, and also our health and overall well-being.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting, and I know, April, you hear me on this, but we are sometimes our worst enemy. We're prisoners to our mind and what we're projecting from our past, and then creating emotional turmoil from that place and putting it into its present moment is what actually keeps us behind. We all know, whether you're an entrepreneur or a high performer pushing the movement forward, you're going to have hurdles. You're going to have things that challenge your mental state, which then brings up emotions. And we have to learn how to master your universe, which includes mastering not just your mind and what you're believing, but mastering the body, because this is missed so much in high performance. Mastering the body and its emotions and allowing it to also get on board with where you want to go next. When we learn to shift and master our mental state, which includes our beliefs that lead to behaviors, as well as our emotions. It literally takes this curtain. If you guys think of a curtain, like slide it off your brain, your body to be like, I'm all in with your unique performance and whatever you want to do today. And I truly believe that is a missing piece that we're seeing for high performers and for those that really want to live their soul aligned life. And once we access that, and learn to do it quickly in day in, day out activities, because let's just be honest, what did we just say? Life can get lifey, you guys. And when you learn to do this quickly with, quote, I put air quote, big or small problems, hurdles, resistances, you can actually get back in your lane of prowess, of your gifting, of whatever it is that you're aligned with. A caveat as we go into this deeper and how to shift that, you guys, more quickly, I'm going to say this. What did I just say earlier? So many of us are prisoners to our mind, prisoners to our body and what we've held in the past. And I'm going to say this. Often one of the first steps in shifting mental emotional states is asking yourself this powerful question. Whose life am I living? Whose core values am I living? Whose mission am I living? Whose dream am I living? Because I'm telling you right now, many of you high performers, if you sit with any of those questions and you're feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and not able to shift yourself mentally, emotionally, it starts with that. Because what I found with many high performers, I was one of them. I was exhausted no matter how many frameworks I used with shifting my state, because I was literally climbing up someone else's ladder. I was living off someone else's dreams. I was living off someone else's core values instead of taking a deep breath and moving into a space courageously every day, micro steps toward what I desired, what my mission was, what my core values were, what my life I wanted it to be. And you guys, there's a whole framework around that. And we'll even get through some of it today to create traction for you. Some of this comes from upbringing. Some of it comes from what we think and perceive people want from us. And we get so clouded in the noise of technology and all the things we see of what we think we're supposed to be showing up as, and getting really quiet and moving in a space of what you truly want in your soul aligned life is actually going to make some of these frameworks we're going to go through today more effective, so you can actually live in that life. Go back home. What did I say? Go back home. If you want to be high potential, go back home to who you are. And it's easier said than done. It sounds simple, but there's a lot of things that we hold on to from the world that aren't aligned with us, and we're fighting it every single day. So before we go through mental emotional state shifting, I'm going to encourage all of you to ask yourself that question. And sometimes it's hard answer to get through, but we navigate through that. We're going to show you that today to actually start moving to a space that's truly you.
Jennifer, I love that you bring up that it's something usually outside of ourselves and not for us. And I think that many, many of us have to at some point ask those questions. Most all of us, right? We have to understand those questions. And usually it takes a major shift in life or some major event for us to really have the understanding that those are the right questions to ask. And I liken it to identity crisis, because we identify as such and such, or this and that, or what societal standards, or, all of the people that are around us do and say and would like us to be, or what we think that they would like us to be, right? So that is us in servitude, yes, but I think that there's this balance or harmony that we can come to where it's the I'm not going to say it right, reciprocity, there we go, in exchange of servitude. And when too much is going out, that's not really servitude, because it's not benefiting you as well. So you have to have that exchange of flowing energy moving to and through you.
Wow.
So
I love what you say about that, because one thing I would say, a lot of high performers, because they want to be great at everything, do everything for everyone, and serving, they betray themselves every single day, everyone. And what that does to the biochemistry in your body, that it's trying to say, I want to do something, and you're not listening. You guys, we're seeing, that's why we even seen in the last 4 to 5 years an acceleration in identity crisis, mental health crisis, depression, anxiety, is we're holding back our truth, whether it be verbally, physically, financially, whatever it is. And we're seeing a huge, massive betrayal of self. You guys, it's betrayal of our true identity. It's the greatest crisis we can give to our body, and it reacts physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And we see a high correlation to heart disease, cancers, depression, anxiety when we do that. So I love how you said that. There has to be an energetic flow of giving and serving. And before you know it, high performers, because we're good at a lot of things, we want to serve because we have a heart to serve, all of a sudden we're tanked and we're wondering what life we're living, and we're so far down the hole. Now we're wondering how to get out of it. No matter if you're far down the hole, everyone, doesn't matter, or you're just starting and you're aware of this, where some of you are, all these techniques we're going to give you today are going to help you. But it does start with that question. Whose life are you really living? And it requires you to not only serve, but give to yourself so you can actually bloom in the way that you're meant to for the world. And it's definitely not selfish.
Oh, I love that. It's not selfish. Bloom the way you were meant to bloom in the world. Beautiful. Well, Jennifer, we're going to go into our commercial. When we get back, let's give them those incredible tips and tricks. Stay tuned.
Are you ready to take control of your ride to wellness? Rev up with Driven Living. Visit www.drivenliving.com and buckle up for a journey. Get exclusive access to our Wellness Driven Life Show guest portal, where you can dive deep into the minds of our esteemed guests. Sign up for our newsletter and get insider scoops on these distinguished personalities. It's like having a backstage pass to their life-changing wisdom. But that's not all. You'll also receive a free hug. You heard me right, a free hug. An enlightening ebook from the Driven Living team. Discover the science-backed benefits of hugging yourself. It's a fill-up for your wellness tank. Because at Driven Living, we believe in fueling your journey to wellness, both physically and psychologically. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.drivenliving.com today.
Welcome back, everyone, here with Jennifer Watson, and she is incredible, sharing with us how to shift that state on what would it be, a moment's notice? What are these tips and tricks? I'm so excited to listen.
So you guys, just disclaimer here, a lot of us have been through our story. A lot of us bring old behaviors and beliefs that can be from trauma. And you guys, I'm a big believer. I'm a coach. I've had counseling. I've had trauma work. I've had so much different work done. So I really want to just let you know, I appreciate that. And that is necessary sometimes, and a lot of times for a lot of us. What I'm going to also invite you in today, just like we invited you to look at high performance in a different way, I'm going to invite you in that some of the stuff we're saying is trauma and from our past is actually things that we can shift very quickly during our day. There are some things that we glorify is going to take us this long journey. It don't have to. Your body and brain want to actually perform well, and it wants the right tools to shift you quickly if it can do that. So as much as we sometimes need additional long-term support for deeper issues, we do have techniques and frameworks, everyone, that can help you shift very quickly throughout the day and allow you to get back in your lane of peak potential in the way that you desire. The third thing I want you to really look at, invite you into, besides that things don't always take so long to move out of, everyone, a lot of times we make this big deal about emotions. And you know what I mean by that, especially when it's, I'll call it, quote, air quote, a negative emotion. Sometimes we guilt ourselves or shame ourselves and like, oh, why are we thinking this way? Then we think about the belief behind that emotion. And what happens, we start cycling down further and further. What I'm going to encourage all of you to do today, before we go through a 3-step framework that I think will really help you, whatever emotion you're feeling, whatever you're being triggered by, anger, malaise, sadness, anxiousness, it doesn't matter. One of those lower frequencies, stop trying to analyze it. The body's just giving you a signal. It's asking you to ride the wave, my friend. You want to name it, like, yeah, I'm angry, and this is why I'm angry, but it allows the body to start feeling safe, that it's okay to digest it. Just like you might have bad food, you guys. I always like to bring up physical examples because it's easier for us. Your body doesn't go, oh my gosh, I'm not digesting this, I'm ashamed of it. It just says, well, that isn't great food for me, but I'm going to process it and give you symptoms of why you should or should not eat that, and then we move on. The same thing with emotions, everyone. When we stop micro-analyzing why we're having them and start getting us into a lower state and shaming the emotion versus just like, I'm feeling this and I'm riding the wave of what we call the human emotions from positive and negative. That is I call it the pre-step, the micro step to actually saying, we're going to go through the shift. When you do that, you're getting your brain and body to go, Jennifer's not running from this. She's not shaming it. She's not saying it's unsafe to feel this. She's not saying it's bad to feel it. She's just saying it's there. And I'm telling you, if you left this show right now, everything we've said so far up to this point will help you. Okay. And then we go into the next 3-step framework from there.
I love that you bring in ride the wave. And most importantly, though, that you should feel into that emotion, ride that emotion right through, right? The negative ones, the positive ones, don't micromanage your emotions.
Right.
So funny, and just a beautiful way of explaining it, because I don't know who else, but I do it constantly. I'm always self-evaluating myself. It's like, I wonder why I'm feeling that way. And sometimes it's just best to surrender it and let go, but also feel into it. And I know that's a strange way of putting it, or easier said than done, right? But there is a way to do that. That surrender piece has always been one of the most difficult aspects for me.
Yes. And one of the things I will say, you guys, when you ride the wave, so I'm a neurochemistry biohacking freak. I love the human body and the human mind. And all of you write this down. We can't process a belief or another action utilizing our frontal lobe, which is what we use for execution, foresight, making a plan, right? We can't do that before we process an emotion. Did you know when you look at an event, you always have an emotion first? It has to go through the emotional part of your brain first before it goes to the frontal lobe for execution. So if you learn to regulate and shift your emotions from a lower frequency to a higher frequency that feels aligned and more your truth and back in your jam of flow state, you're going to give your frontal lobe a better perspective, a better belief, versus us microanalyzing why we have the emotion, then come up with a distorted perception that's possibly not true. Versus riding the wave precursor right here, you guys, just shifting your state of the emotion that allow you to get to a higher state just by allowing it to move through you, which will then go to your frontal lobe with a different perspective, with a different belief, with a different solution, you guys. It's not the other way around. When you start with the emotion first, it allows you to be in a higher emotional state that allows you to bring better information to your frontal lobe on perspective, decision-making, and execution of something that you want to move into after you've processed it. So that's the first step, everyone.
Okay? I have a question just real quick, though. Do you have a good example of that, just to give us a little bit of idea?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's say you just read a bad email before you had to go into a board meeting, you guys, and you went and now you're angry, you're frustrated, you're shocked, or whatever you're feeling, and you have to go into a boardroom and be in a more powerful state, but you're still festering. You're still like, why is this happening? Instead of microanalyzing, like, why did that person email that? What were they thinking? Or even assuming what they were thinking. Take a deep breath, pause, breathe. And this is when I get up and just allow people to start moving. Get up from the email, start moving. Start allowing the emotion to ride the wave. You're not analyzing it. Pull yourself away from the computer where your brain wants to go into why they sent the email, what you did wrong, and just allow the emotion to start coming through. When you do that for a minute, everyone, and come back to the screen, I guarantee you, because you're moving the emotion through, riding the wave, your emotion is going to be a little bit more settled. You'll be able to look back at that email a little bit more perspective, even if it's not perfect, everyone. I'm not saying you're going to be joyous about the email. But what it's going to allow you to do is gain a different perspective, possibly start looking at things differently of how you might respond later. And bonus, you'll be in a higher, more anchored emotion for what you're doing next. How many of us get stuck in a lower frequency emotion because of something that bothered us, and we take it into our staff meeting? We take it into whatever we have next, and things don't go as well. It doesn't mean you have to clear up the email, clear up the emotion fully, everyone, but just getting yourself empowered to feel a little bit better. You'll be surprised. You're like, you know what? Now I'm starting to see what they mean. You know what? Maybe that's feedback. You start seeing things differently because your emotion is different because you move through it. Does that make sense, everyone? So just taking a trigger and start moving it through, allowing the body to say it's safe to move, will allow you to start seeing it differently and not only change perspective, deal with that later, but be able to go into a new environment in your more empowered state that you want to go into.
Movement is so big. I love that you bring that up. It certainly is key. Motion creates emotion. And better in context for this, motion really creates that higher frequency state that you need to be in. It just starts activating that naturally.
Yeah. And I'll say this, you guys, because you're like, okay, I get it, Jennifer. Look at performance differently. I get it, Jennifer. Look at how you navigate emotions differently, not shaming it. Now, all these precursors. Now you're saying moving. You guys, 3 steps here. 3 steps here. I'm going to give you the first one, okay? Even before you just moved. We often talk about things we don't want to be in, whether it be emotions or a current situation. I really want you to start getting what makes you feel at peace, anchored, calm. This is what we call accessing our parasympathetic state, our calmer state of being, where our highest performance naturally exudes itself. Many of us don't even know. Hear me on this, everyone. I know you hear me on this. A lot of high performers are in constant Mach level 5, fight or flight, stress state all the time. You don't even know what it likes to be in a peaceful, calm, emotionally good state. How can I tell you to go through these steps if you don't even know what that means? So what I want you to practice every day, if you don't, whether you're like, no, I know what it is, we'll keep practicing more consistently. For those of you that don't even know, you're like, Jennifer, I am in constant fight or flight. Try things through your day. I'm going to invite you into that, even if it's 5 minutes. Maybe you like to dance. Try dancing for 3 to 5 minutes. Maybe you like to go out in the sun and nature and sit on your favorite bench. Maybe that's it. Maybe you would like to call your mom in the middle of the day. That calms you. Start practicing peace activities and see, hear, feel what that feels like in your body, what it means to be in a better emotional state, in a better calm state. This is where your highest potential self feeds from. Now that you know what that feels like, you've gotten on the mat, like these activities, Jennifer, make me feel good. And now I know what that feels like. And I need to get there during a triggering day so I can be my highest potential. Now that you know that, now you can move. That was the second step, you guys, moving the emotion through, but not just moving for moving's sake. Everyone are like, yeah, I moved you. No, something that you enjoy to do movement wise, that feels good to you, even if it's 30 seconds or a minute. Maybe something comes to you last minute, like I'm going to just go outside and do jumping jacks. You guys, I change up. Sometimes I do somersaults. It's not just about moving for moving's sake. Yes, motion gives emotion, okay? But it's really specific to you. Move in a way that feels aligned with you. So we talk about moving when you get a bad email. Do something, jumping jacks, burpees, walk, whatever it takes for 30 seconds to a minute that's aligned with you. That's the big caveat, you guys. Everything I'm giving you are these little micro shifts that make the big difference, okay? Not just moving for movement sake. You're not on your cell phone looking for your next thing you have to do. You're present, but also specific for you. So 1, we found out what keeps you in peace and calm. What does that even feel like? 2, what are you doing for motion when you're feeling a trigger? Not shaming it, allowing the motion to go through, but specific motion for you. The number 3 thing that all of you have to do every day. Someone asked me once what's made me highly successful in a healthier state. You know what it was, April? I do something hard every day that triggers my emotion a little bit into a negative emotion. I literally do. It's important for everyone. And I don't mean doing something that you do every day. Let's say you work out every day and you feel the burn, because I'm talking about things you avoid.
Is it like a frustration?
Yes, exactly. So something that you avoid, something that frustrates you. You guys know what I'm talking about. You're like, no. I'm not talking about you high performers. You work out every day. You push the envelope on 20 things a day. You're like, you know all that, my friend. This third one's a big one, everyone. You have to expand your capacity to hold more emotions. It requires you to do something hard every day. And hard every day is, again, just like the second component, you guys, unique to you. What are you avoiding? Is it a tough conversation because you're afraid of rejection? Is it navigating a decision that you've been putting off for a while and your body's constantly regulating in the background when it's trying to high perform? Okay. When you do that, you guys, You stretch the nervous system's capacity to hold a wide range of emotions. So think of like a cup of water, you guys. If it's half full because you've been actually increasing your bandwidth to handle more, and you get several triggers that day, even if you get a little triggered and some of the stuff kind of that you're moving through still gets you through, but you're still feeling triggered, you have more bandwidth and it doesn't overflow, right? If you don't get on the mat every day, you're already at an overflow. Then one thing like a bad email, no matter how many frameworks you have, you guys, you're going to be overflowed for the rest of the day. 3 steps, you guys, actually 4. Look at performance differently. Be on your ladder. What does that feel like? Knowing you need to serve yourself as much as others. Second, are you willing to look at emotions different? It's not about some are bad, some are good. It's writing the human existence of emotions. Now we go into 3 shifts, you guys. It's looking at what makes me feel good, regulate my body to be in that throughout the day that feels calm and centered so I can be high performance. Number 2, move the emotion through specifically with something intentional that you like. It is very specific, you guys. And number 3, get on the mat every day to expand your capacity. It is no different than me telling you to go run a 26.2 marathon and you never trained for it. You'd look at me like, you're crazy, Jennifer. I'll say the same thing to you. You want to get better at navigating emotions, you better be doing it ahead of time to get your body used to what that feels like so it grows and can have a higher capacity for 3 to 4 things that might hit the fan that day, so you can move through it quicker and get back into your lane and do the things you want to do. People ask me all the time, April, they're like, how are you navigating that? How are you navigating that? All 3 at the same time. Why? I just shared with you. You guys, I teach this, you guys, with my high level coaching clients all the time, among other deeper level frameworks. This will give you guys traction on shifting mental emotional states, staying in a higher capacity of self, no matter what's going on around you. And that, my friend, is highly powerful. It doesn't mean it's a all-time fixer. Like I said, you guys, there's trauma with all of us. I coach a lot of high performers. This creates traction. I know it will for all of you, but I'm a high encourager of mentorship to continue to get you in realigning in these spaces we're talking about. But I'm telling you, if you practice these 3 things and invite yourself into looking at things differently, you're going to live more yourself and ultimately the soul-aligned living that you desire.
Oh, and that feels so good. I love that you bring in the traction, and that's what it is. It's the consistency, getting your body and your brain to align together to work that way. And if our bodies are robots controlled by the mind, right? So all those reoccurring thoughts and patterns, it's just retraining that and getting it back on track, like you mentioned. Jen, you've been such a fun guest today. Thank you so much for sharing with our audience all of these amazing tips and tricks. I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find ends.com. You can also find it in the description below. So be sure to check out her website. It's beautiful, and all of the things that she has to offer. If you've listened this long, I know that you're very intrigued and you've gotten some really great things out of this conversation. Jen, is there anything else you want to share with our audience today?
You guys just, go after your life. That's the biggest thing. Go after your life. Use these tools. Reach out to me if you have questions, but go after your life. And finally, April, what I'd love to do is offer anyone that has watched the show today a free breathwork series to create high performance and get you out of emotional chaos into a higher level. It's a 10-minute breathwork series, video series I'd love to offer to all of the people listening today. But no matter what, go after your life and reach out to me if you need additional support.
Oh, I love that. And breath work is so essential. Or it's an easy thing to get you a lot quicker into a slower mode, right? And just really center ourselves and ground ourselves. Jen, thank you for being our guest on the Wellness Driven Life Show. Thank you to our audience for watching, because without you, the show wouldn't be possible. So thank you so much. Goodbye for now, and we will see you next time.